Good evening, everyone. This meeting is now called to order. This is the Health, Environmental, Aging, and Disabilities Committee meeting for March 25th, 2026. I'm the chair, Councilmember Kobe Owens, for the 1st District, and at this time, I will call roll of the members of the committee first. Councilwoman Willhaller, Councilwoman Cabrera, Councilman Fields, Councilman Hackett,
Here.
Council President Congo,
Here.
Councilman Field. He's here.
I don't see him now.
Okay. As a friendly reminder, only members of the committee should be making motions and seconding. And with that, I will proceed to the agenda. First on our agenda tonight, we have a presentation from Friendship House. Their executive director, Kim Eppehimer, is here, and I think you have a colleague with you as well, too. Y'all can come take a seat up here, and I don't know if Deputy Chief of Staff Walker can join them as well. Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us. I'd like to introduce Kristen Reeser. She's our Chief Program Officer, and if you don't mind, I'd like her to share the operational report for Christina Park first, and then I will share after.
Perfect.
Wonderful.
Do I have to press? I'm good. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you so much for having us, members of the council, and Kobe Owens, and thank you for inviting us to be here tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on the work currently happening at Christina Park. My role tonight is to share a brief operational overview of what has been happening on the grounds and what we have done so far this year. Since Friendship House began providing coordinated outreach and support at Christina Park, our focus has been on weather-related safety, improving sanitation, and connecting to services. From a sanitation standpoint, regular cleanups are taking place at the park. In partnership with the city and Lewis Environmental Services, debris removal and maintenance has been occurring weekly to help maintain the space and reduce health concerns. In addition, the city has provided portable restrooms, which are being cleaned twice a week. Last week, we were able to have a couple of them relocated to improve accessibility. Through this relationship-based outreach, we have been able to begin connecting individuals with services. The Bridge Clinic is on site each morning, and there are other community groups bringing food to those staying at the park. We are working to coordinate additional service to the park, such as mobile shower unit and clinical services. Coordinating donations and volunteer support has required careful communication. Many community members want to help, which we deeply appreciate. At the same time, uncoordinated distribution of supplies can inadvertently create safety concerns, duplication of resources, and disruption to outreach efforts. We have been encouraging individuals and the community groups who wish to donate to work through a coordinated process so that the supplies can be distributed in a way that supports both the individuals staying at the park and the broader management of the site. There have also been moments where community members and volunteers have expressed differing views of how the site should be supported. These conversations are not unusual in situations like this, where many people care deeply about helping. It is also important to acknowledge that the work that has taken place during a particularly difficult winter. Over the past several months, Wilmington experienced extended periods of severe weather, including 2 significant snowstorms, and a number of days where conditions were severely unsafe for individuals living outdoors. During one stretch, the park was closed for more than 2 weeks due to snow and icy conditions. For individuals who are already living in extremely vulnerable circumstances, these closures created additional instability. The storm damaged and destroyed tents and personal belongings, and several individuals were displaced while the park was closed. During this time, temperatures briefly rose above the threshold for Code Purple activities, meaning the emergency shelters were not operating during that window. When we were operating Code Purple services, we were actively encouraging people to park participants to utilize it. We coordinated storage and personal belongings they wished to secure in a secured building. During the long closed spell in January, we worked with DHSS to move those who were displaced from the park during the storm into hotels for about 2 weeks. Even after the snow cleared, the ground conditions in the park became extremely difficult. The combination of melted snow and heavy precipitation left large portions of the area muddy and unstable, creating safety concerns and making daily living conditions even more challenging for people staying there. In February, the park opened back up and our outreach team began working to re-engage the individuals as they moved back into the park. Currently, we have engaged with about 50 individuals staying at Christina Park. One individual has been housed. To share this individual's story briefly, she became unhoused when her husband passed away, and with that, his Social Security stopped, leaving her with no income. She came to the park in the beginning of winter. She worked with our case managers directly, and within a month, she was able to have her benefits reinstated and was able to find a home in a room to rent. These numbers represent early progress in the process that is often slow and relationship-driven. Moving someone from unsheltered homelessness towards stability rarely happens overnight. Next week, we will work with the city and community volunteers to deliver pallets and brand new all-weather tents to the park for every person currently staying there. Going forward, new park participants will be issued a pallet and a tent in a dedicated space. We are excited this is finally coming to fruition. Stories like the one above are reminders that happened in every number in a person navigating extremely complex circumstances. What we are seeing is that an outreach is consistently and respectful, people beginning to open up about their needs and considering options that may not have felt possible before. Our goal is simple: show up consistently, build trust, and help people move towards stability whenever and however they are ready. I will now turn it over to Kim to share some broad concepts on why this work matters and what we are seeing more broadly across the system.
Thank you, Kristen. Good evening again, and thank you, Councilman Owen, for this opportunity to share about our work. Kristen shared our day-to-day operations that are happening at Christina Park, and we're pleased to have made so much progress. What I'd like to do is just take a few moments to talk about the why behind our work, because I think that's an important perspective that we can't lose, and also share some of what we're hearing and seeing when people think about homelessness. At Friendship House, our mission is rather simple. We unite people facing homelessness with loving, supportive communities they can call home. At the center of our work is one belief that guides everything that we do. Stability should never require surrendering one's dignity. That means we meet people where they are, not where we think they should be, and not where the system says that they should be, but where they actually are in that moment. For people who are living unsheltered, that often means outreach, relationship building, and patience. It also means acknowledging the reality of the housing landscape that we're currently operating in. The truth is, affordable, safe, and accessible housing is extremely limited. Even when someone is ready for housing, finding a unit that is affordable, available, and appropriate takes significant time, effort, and resources. Housing shortages has affected our entire community, and they are especially difficult for individuals trying to stabilize after a period of homelessness. I want to be clear, people are not choosing to be homeless. In reality, what we most often see is people navigating a complicated mix of circumstances: loss of housing, rising rents, health challenges, family conflict, trauma, or financial instability are just some examples. Once someone loses stable housing, the path back can be much more difficult than people realize. Another myth is that everyone who is experiencing homelessness has a substance use disorder or a mental health challenge. And the truth is that the population is incredibly diverse. Some individuals are, in fact, facing those challenges. Others are not. What they share in common is that at some point, something destabilized their life and ultimately their housing. Our job is not to assume someone's story. Our job is to meet them, listen, and help them move towards stability whenever possible. And that's exactly what our team is doing at Christina Park. We are there consistently, and we are building relationships. We are connecting people with services when they are ready and when the services are available and accessible. And we are working alongside the city and other partners to manage the situation as responsibly as possible. We're often asked, how long will people live at Christina Park? Or when will the park close? Well, in our mind, the answer is simple. Friendship House will continue providing services at Christina Park unless we're told by the city to stop. Our role is not to make policy decisions about the location itself. Our role is to serve people who are experiencing homelessness in Wilmington, wherever they are, with dignity, professionalism, and care. We believe that when communities approach homelessness with compassion, coordination, and realism, better outcomes are possible. Thank you for this opportunity for us to share tonight. We are grateful for the opportunity to work in partnership with the city and to work together to address these challenges.
Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for that quick update on what is going on down at Christina Park. I would like to recognize Councilwoman Will Howler, who has joined us in person. And we can kind of get into the Q&A portion of it. I know some of the council members have been talking about this. I'm sure everyone's been talking about this for quite a while now, between this and property taxes. But I will start with just, I guess this is a question towards Daniel. The contract currently right now is for how many months or years?
Thanks, Councilman Owens. For those listening, my name is Daniel Walker, Deputy Chief of Staff to Mayor John Carney. The current contract with the Friendship House was initiated January 5th, 2026, and it will run through June of this year, of 2026. So it's a 6-month period. We intentionally structured it this way to ensure we could make any necessary updates to that contract as we were moving along. Also, we knew that it would be a transparently rocky start as we were anticipating a long, hard winter, and I think everyone will agree that is what happened. And so we wanted to have an opportunity to go back and revisit that contract on a consistent basis. As you know, any contract that is multi-year will have to go before council for review and approval.
Thank you for that, Councilwoman Waller.
Thank you, Chair Owens. Yeah, I do want to thank the Friendship House for stepping in and taking on the role of helping to provide services to people who are living in Christina Park. And especially, I got to see the impact of your work when the city mobilized the William Hicks Anderson Community Center, and they worked together with Friendship House. City staff, like city parks and rec staff, worked together with Friendship House to run that as a shelter during the winter storms. So I did get to see, just how people are making an effort to support people who are homeless, and also the community of people that are homeless and the kind of support that people need. And I guess I do, there are a lot of concerns about what's happening at Christina Park that we hear as elected officials. And I guess one of them is just in terms of coordination. It's my understanding that there was going to be a coordinator of, your contracted services, but that person's not in place now. Is that correct? And is there a plan for getting that person in place?
That is not fully correct. So we do have a person whose role is to manage what we consider outreach through our Wilmington Empowerment Center. And her job is to oversee our seasonal programming, which includes Code Purple and summer, which we call Code Orange, and Christina Park. And she has been there most days when it's open, almost every day. And then we are hiring additional staff to support that. So we are in the process of increasing our staffing to ensure that we have more coverage and that as it grows in population, we're able to really provide more consistent case management and navigation services.
And then just, in terms of some of the questions that I've had about some of the services, I guess the showers and there's a contract for bringing showers and laundry services to the park, but that also hasn't yet, it's not there yet. I was just wondering about kind of the timeline and when people could expect that.
Yeah, so the organization that we're hoping to work with, which is 1 in 7B, doesn't have ability to winterize their mobile shower. And so they have been waiting for the cold temperatures to cease so they can safely bring it on. And they have been there before, so they were there last year as well. And there are several areas that they do service throughout Newcastle County. But our intention and their intention is to come back as soon as the weather provides. And that unit does provide showers as well as laundry services.
Councilwoman, the 1 and 7B conversation that we entered into prior to Friendship House coming on board, that's why we wanted to set the pretty clear expectation, is that their mobile shower services usually run between April and November because of the lack of winterization.
So there's just no option for showers between November and April?
At the moment, we don't have any for on-site, but there are some potential options for folks that are in the city. And I will share that Friendship House has recently renovated our Wilmington Empowerment Center, and there will be 2 showers available through the winter months going forward. So it's not, it is a drop in the bucket, but it is at least something forward to help. And there's other organizations that do provide showers, but again, it's not the solution. It is a Band-Aid to a larger problem, but there are some options.
I just had a point of clarity. The Empowerment Center is different from the Day Center, correct?
No,
No, it's the same one where the old...
on Orange Street.
Okay. Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So, just what are the biggest barriers that you're facing in terms of getting people into housing, like not, moving on from living at Christina Park?
That could take a moment. There are many, because every single person has a different challenge that might be facing them. Some of them are systematic barriers. They don't have an ID, and we might be struggling in them getting an ID in order for them to get the services that they require. Some of it is accessibility. There just isn't housing for that individual or housing that they can afford. Some housing, and there's restrictions, and so they may or may not be able to meet those restrictions in order for them to get into that housing. I would say probably one of the more overarching barriers that we really see is that society expects people to be at a certain level in order for them to receive housing, and not everybody is able or willing to be at that level that society is expecting. There's many rules, there's expectations, and it is hard for someone to always fit the mold. So for some folks, they just aren't at that point yet.
Just real quick, do you have an estimate for the total number of people currently at the park?
Yes, roughly 50, we think.
And with that, and kind of piggybacking off of Councilwoman Wilhauler a little bit, with sitting on the homeless task force, I know one of the things was to make this park a temporary location. Has there been any communications or thoughts of potential more permanent housing options or housing options that include a structure, not just tents?
I can take that from the broader macro level landscape, Councilman. that there are ongoing conversations with the state in terms of what that will look like for more beds. I think is how we generally refer to those additional availabilities. There are two activities currently happening, which I think many of you, if not all of you, may be aware of, but maybe not some folks who are listening, in terms of the homelessness task force that the governor is operating. Wilmington has been invited to sit on a subcommittee that will look at homelessness through two different lenses, or being unhoused rather, through two different lenses. One is the prevention mechanism, and the other one is the creation of beds. And so those conversations are happening.
And when it comes to coordination, not just for housing, I know you said that one person has been housed already. Are there other people in the pipeline, at least, of potentially finding housing of the 50 down there?
I can't speak to that fully. I know that we're trying to work with as many people as we can, but I think a little bit we're in the transition of establishing kind of the pallets and the tents, and so once we get that, we'll really be able to start doing a lot more work.
Thank you. And just Councilman Hackett and Council President Congo, if y'all have any questions, please raise your hand. I would like to recognize Councilwoman Harley, who just joined the meeting.
Thank you.
My next question is several groups, churches, everything. They have reached out about being able to provide food. What is your coordination looking like? Is there set schedules, time slots that people can kind of volunteer to, hey, like Sunday at noon, I'll do that meal. At Monday at, 5 p.m., I'll do that meal. Do y'all have a schedule like that?
We want to have a schedule like that, yes. So we're starting with groups that are interested in providing food and meals. They can sign up through us. They just need to go through our coordinator and make sure we are aware and make sure there's not another group scheduled so that we're not duplicating services for that time period. And then we're asking everyone to kind of do a bring in, bring out so that food and waste is not left in the park, and that is helping to reduce the amount of waste that is in the park. And they're not just coming and dropping casserole dishes and leaving, but actually coming, serving it, and then taking what they brought away with them. So yeah.
Yes. And again, the whatever you take in, you take out. Especially around like Thanksgiving time, you saw a lot of people, hey, I had extra turkey. I'm going to drop it off and just set it on the table down there, and not really distribute it. I know I took food down there from our volunteers over on the north side, but we had them in prepackaged containers. I took them to the different tents, and if anyone didn't want them, we went somewhere else. So again, trying to cut down on the amount of trash that we do have to take out of there, because we have a set schedule for sanitation currently, but I do know prior to picking up, a lot of that stuff gets filled up very quick. So just trying not to overload things there. And I know the city, is it 2 days?
We do. There are actually 4 cleaning periods, 3 from the city for our general waste receptacles that Parks and Recreation have on location. Since Christina Park has opened, anyone who has been down there has probably noticed we have upwards to a dozen or more trash cans placed throughout the park now. And then on Monday or Tuesday, depending on Lewis's availability, we always aim for Monday, but there are some Tuesdays, they come out and do a site pickup where there are more large-scale materials that may have been dropped off during the week that should not be out there, like recliners that some people may have, or yard waste, or random wood, things of that nature get picked up. So Parks does theirs on Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays for the most part in terms of emptying our waste receptacles. And then Lewis Environmental will do a site-wide cleanup on Monday and or Tuesday, depending on, it's also weather dependent sometimes.
Thank you for that. Councilwoman Harley.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to clarify one thing, which is the point that was made on Thanksgiving Day from 9 until 2, myself and my crew, we made sure that everything was organized, bagged up, and cleaned up between 9 and 2. So if there was individuals dropping things off after we left, I can't vouch for that, but I just wanted to clarify because we definitely was there for Thanksgiving and wanted to make sure that everybody had a good time. We had the DJ. We really wanted those individuals living there to feel welcomed and to celebrate a holiday. And I want to say that the city of Wilmington, we coordinated with Parks and Rec. They cleaned up the park before we got there, and they also came and picked up the trash that we bagged up. So I just wanted to clarify that because sometimes I hear different stories about what's going on down there, and sometimes I think there's some added information, but I wanted to clarify what took place Thanksgiving between 9 and 2. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is there any other questions? Councilwoman?
I just had some questions about, people who are living there also, is their role in working with you, as, and it's my understanding that there is there's the contract around the trash pickup, and then there's also some contracted work around security. And has there been any effort to involve, like the overnight coverage? I guess there's overnight coverage for your organization. And has there been any effort to kind of coordinate with people who are residents of Christina Park to kind of pay them to do some of the work of managing the community?
I will begin with the last piece, and I'll let Kristen pick up where we are with the staffing and the work that we're doing with the city police as well. But we have thought about and continue to think about how to engage the folks that live there. It is not always a straightforward or easy solution. So it is something that we are willing to consider and want to think about. It gets a little complicated in the sense that we want to make sure all voices are really risen to the top and there isn't a perceived leader or somebody who is taking charge of that area that isn't someone connected to Friendship House. This is sort of a new opportunity for the city, right? And it's a new encampment that's been deemed, dare I say, legal. And within that comes a lot of other personalities and opportunities for people to step forward. And so we're being really cautious on how that is handled at the park because we don't want somebody to come in and think that they can then dictate for the others based on what they think they know or what they think they have responsibility for. So there's other complications too with paying cash, and we already know that there's challenges with people having IDs and being able to verify how they are receiving payment and to make sure that we can document it appropriately for the city's records as well. So it's not an easy thing to go into, but it is something that we are looking at and taking into consideration. And I'll turn it to Kristen in terms of staffing.
Thank you. Yes, we are working on having overnight, like essentially 24/7 surveillance. And so we are looking to hire additional staff as well to kind of cover that overnight surveillance. So that's something we are working on in the next month.
And then we are working with the city.
We have a great relationship with the police unit that is patrolling the park, and Lieutenant Bozeman and I have a good relationship in our team, and they are really doing a really great effort of understanding the population and working with them and really working with them to make sure we're not escalating things, but that we're keeping each other safe and supporting each other while also having tough conversations if we have to.
Councilwoman, to your question around security specifically, that is the WPD component. We do have roving security patrols that go through the area, looking for certain items that, or actions more specifically, that are unsafe to the broader population down there. They do have a set cadence and a number of times they're supposed to be on site. We do not display our security patrols, so that way people cannot anticipate when they will or will not be there, but they are there multiple times throughout the night, checking on safety.
I had one last question. Can I follow up? Thank you. This is my last question. We saw with the storms, there was an incredible mobilization of resources. It was recognized that it wasn't possible for people to live outside during the sub-zero temperatures and with snow on the ground. And so people, vouchers were found, the shelter was established, staff were hired and paid, and people were, everybody had shelter during the storms. If there was a will to, move mountains to make sure that everybody who's currently living at Christina Park had a place to live inside, what would need to be mobilized to make that happen?
I think that is a great question. Oh,
Yeah, I will certainly, and then turn it over to the experts who certainly can talk about it, given their engagement in the initial startup of the Hope Center. But in short, Councilwoman, sustained ongoing operating funding is always the thing that is necessary. In its conversations we've had with most of council, moving people indoors is not an easy feat for a few reasons, but I will say when we saw that action during the storm and we got people in hotels, there were some who just didn't want to stay inside. We see that across shelters in Delaware, and I'm not going to sit here and say they don't want to, but I'm going to sit here and say there are some that have not. I know that firsthand. I was homeless for 18 years. I was born into homelessness. Didn't have my own bed until I went away to college. And so I've lived this life more than probably anyone. And it is a very difficult population to make sure you're responding to them intentionally, adequately, and appropriately for their individualized situation. And so one thing that we're careful of is understanding what the long-term implications will be. And the question is always who's going to run it and who's going to fund it.
may I add on to that? Because that was very well said, and that's pretty much close to what I would have said. I have not experienced homelessness for 18 years, and I appreciate that you shared that, Daniel. In addition to that, what we do see are some of the additional resources. So one of the huge benefits is there was funding that was emergency funding to put folks in hotels. What was not there was food. And so one of the reasons people did leave hotels is because they were hungry. There was no food for them. And we were doing our best, but it was hard because there's snow and it's hard for us to get around as well. And our volunteers were also getting tapped out. So funding and operational funding is a key piece to it. And the other reason people leave is because of rules. And rules are necessary, but not all can fit the societal norm rules that are expected to be there. They will bring guests in. They will bring their pets in. They will do what they need to do to survive. And that is a very difficult piece when we're talking about doing any kind of system-wide shelter, and often why people are kicked out of shelter and then lose their opportunity to then get it. So if we really want to move mountains, which I would love to be part of moving a mountain, the answer is a housing first model where those rules do not exist and they are allowed to be in a house without questions being asked, or a place of their own they can call home.
Thank you for that. And I know you talked about that in depth on the Homeless Task Force as well, too. Next, I have Council President Congo, and then after him, Councilman Hackett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate this conversation this evening. Earlier it was mentioned that there were 50 people living in the park. How many of those 50 out of those 50 are under 18? Do we know?
There are no minors at the park.
Okay, so no families with small children.
There are no families with minors.
No. Okay. All right. Had there ever been that you
Not,
know of?
not since we've been there, no.
No. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Just a couple other questions, Mr. Chair, if that's okay.
Yes.
I know it's been talking. We talked about the possible solutions of finding homes, but I guess there's also a concern that there be a balance, because how do we provide, how do we help without becoming like an attraction for people who aren't necessarily from here, who are coming from out of town because they know they will be able to get the kind of resources and the kind of help that they can't get in the city or state where they're from. Is that part of the concern, that we just become so good at housing people that we just have an abundance of people who are moving in, knowing that they'll be able to find help here, and then how do we fund that?
What a joy it would be to have that be a problem, that we are housing people so successfully. They are coming by bounds into Wilmington. I will say that those that we are working with directly and for Friendship House, both at our Wilmington Empowerment Center and throughout the county, and especially at Christina Park, are folks who consider Wilmington home.
Okay. And there's always been a I'm not sure if it's true or not, but there's been just conversation around a lot of people who are at the park came from Kensington, Pennsylvania.
That is not true. From our
That's not true.
experience,
Okay.
that is not true. Yes.
I just wanted to make sure that was said publicly. And I had one more question, Mr. Chair. I think we touched on it earlier. Like some people just don't want to be housed. How do we help them? Because there's also concern. I think the overall concern is that people want to help and people understand that people need help, but there's also a concern that of when can those families and when can that community return to their park, and I say that not trying to blame or not trying to judge anyone who has had that concern, but it is a concern that needs to be addressed, I think. And that's not saying that those people who are saying that don't care. They just are concerned that a couple of reasons that it wouldn't happen in another part of the city where there were more affluent residents. And then how do we, if we get to a point where we are able to house everyone who is there, like is there going to be some sort of cutoff, so it's just not known, okay, we can go to Christina Park and stay there, and the people who have used that park won't be able to use it.
President Congo, thank you for those questions. And just to piggyback off of the comment that Kim made regarding Kensington, I think it's implied that everyone down there, or the vast majority, is from Kensington, and we would agree that that is not what we stated or implied. That is certainly something that the media has played up. Matter of fact, what we said there are numerous avenues where people are coming into Wilmington utilizing Kensington as an example, but also confirmed are those who are coming from Kent and Sussex from behavioral health centers and things of that nature. That does not alleviate what we feel is our responsibility to take care of those who are currently here in Wilmington. To your question around the length and returning the park, to those residents. That is one we hear, that is one we agree with, and that is why we are vehement in our assertion that this is a temporary project, a temporary setup that we are deploying. I think what we have to realize and accept is the services for our unhoused population are in that area already. The shelters are there. The dining halls are there. The day centers are proximate. So this is not one that was created overnight. This is one where it was a location proximate to where these individuals are naturally already congregating. And so it just made logical sense, in our opinion, to utilize that location as a staging house, for lack of a better term, where there are everyone as many people as we can get to target additional resources into that area. And so we hear what the community is saying. We get asked those questions as well, and we agree that this cannot be a permanent location. It's a wonderful place where community can gather, and we are intent on giving that place back to the community as we move through this progress. I think what we've heard and lifted up is already even considering the rocky start because of the weather and the fact that we weren't able to wrap our arms around them as intensely to move them through the process. We already have one person housed. That's one more than was housed prior. So we know what is working, and we're intent on delivering on that. I hope that answered your question, sir. I don't want to skip over any component of it.
No, yes, I appreciate your responses. Just one more question, Mr. Chair, if that's okay.
Yes.
Um, I was down there a couple of weeks ago, and there were a group of guys out there who were helping, and they were cooking, and they were giving food to the residents, to people who live there, and they brought up something kind of facetiously, but they were also kind of serious. They said, what's stopping me from setting up a almost like a tiny house down here? And I really couldn't answer the question. So like if somebody were to go down there and set up something that's a little bit more sophisticated than a tent, just because they could, and just because they would be able to, live rent free. Again, they were saying it facetiously, but they were also, my grandma used to say, there's a lot of truth in a joke. And they said it several times. So it was definitely something that's on their mind. But like, what would happen in that case? And then my last question is there what's the magic number that the city of Wilmington would need to be able to what's the cost for us to be able to house all 50 of the residents down at the park, if that hasn't already been asked?
So that has not been asked, sir. To your first question about what's stopping them, city law is we tiny homes are seen as residential dwellings, and it is not something our zoning anticipates in a open public space like a park, so they cannot. Considering the daily on-the-ground oversight from Friendship House and our mention of WPD's roving security apparatus, it's extremely unlikely for a tiny home to pop up overnight at that location, because one, is not allowed, and two, we would notice if something was attempting to be constructed and stop it beforehand. There will be rules at this location for the safety of everyone, including the folks who are down there, as well as our Friendship House staffers.
Okay, thank you. In the second part, I'm not sure.
Yes, to the number part. That is something I imagine will a number that will come up in terms of the broader conversations with the state, but it is not something we at the city have developed a number on.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Before I go to the next question, I would like to recognize Councilwoman Bracy, who has joined the meeting. Councilman Hackett, did you still have questions?
No, I'm okay.
Okay. Councilwoman Harley.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I wanted to know, one from Friendship House as well as from the administration, have we considered partnering or trying to learn from one of the organizations that seem to be having some success with homelessness, which is springboarddelaware.org? That's the website that I have been going out on to look at, their mission, which is to give light at the end of the tunnel, for an end to homelessness through housing and services that restore dignity. Like all the things that we're talking about, these are the things that they are currently doing. So, one, my question is, have we considered trying to understand how we can sort of like migrate the encampment into what they're doing? That's my first question, and then I have a follow up.
Yes, thank you for that question. And one, some of the work they're doing is of a different model in the sense that they do have the pallet shelter and what they consider to be the tiny homes, which is a very different model from an encampment. They are more housed, and so there's more stability and more security, safety, and services in a different way. The other thing I will challenge is that Friendship House has been doing this work for almost 40 years and has a very long track record of successfully housing folks who have been unhoused and significant work in our prevention of homelessness. And I think, and I would hope, that's one of the reasons that the city has had partnered with us on this contract is our wide success in that. And we believe so deeply in dignity and looking at the individual and focusing on them as we proceed forward, not putting our wants and whims on the individual.
Okay, thank you. And then my second follow-up question, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Okay, so I think it was about a week ago, the state of Delaware, the Delaware State Housing Authority, they put out a press release or a flyer. And reading the flyer, they're focusing on, they have two pillars, housing first. And under housing first, they are working towards permanent housing, ongoing support services, ideals for chronic homelessness, and the goal is to end homelessness. And then the other pillar is dealing with rapid rehousing for short-term aid, temporary rental support, ideal crisis response, and their goal is to regain stability. So I want to know, is Friendship House communicating with the state of Delaware? Because as we know, the state of Delaware, they get the funds for housing and social services. They're the municipality that gets those funds. And so my question is Friendship House communicating with the right person in the housing department to see how we can integrate or get some of the folks that are in the encampment involved in getting some of these services and programs?
The short answer is yes. We work with many partners from state to local, county, across the board to ensure that we're turning over every rock and looking at every option for folks to get housing. And the DSHA has been well acquainted with some of the work we've been doing and actually has been on site during some of our Code Purples to learn and see what we've been doing. So yes, we are in communication and we have been for years. Friendship House has typically had the model of avoiding state funding so that we can stay as nimble and flexible as possible. But that doesn't mitigate that we have a strong relationship and communication with the state on these matters.
And thank you.
Councilwoman
And
Harley, just to add a layer of
okay.
color onto that one, if you don't mind. During the winter storm, perfect example, it was Friendship House's coordination with DSHA and DHSS that got us access to the multi-use 7-day hotel vouchers. And so certainly a wonderful track record and influence in terms of using their services there as well.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, Mr. Chair, so I just want to say I'm not questioning Friendship Houses, anything that you're doing. I'm just trying to make sure that I share information as I have been trying to keep my eyes open for any opportunities where I can pass on information. So that's the main reason why I mentioned it. Because I just wanted to make sure. And then as it relates to the state, they just put this information out, I want to say about a week ago. So I just wanted to make sure that you were aware, Friendship House was aware of these new dollars that are coming out for this the homelessness, because there's a number of individuals that are asking the city to consider putting money into this cause. And I'm thinking, well, if the state is getting the money to do this with the number of streams of income that they receive, revenue, I'm sorry, versus our two streams of revenue, like why wouldn't we be pressing in a little harder to see if we could get more funding and more dollars from the state versus putting and I'm saying this for lack of a better word, putting the burden on the city. And when I say burden, I mean the financial burden versus going to the municipality that is actually getting the funds and getting the money to address this particular situation. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I did have one more question, and then I'm actually going to turn the meeting over to my vice chair. How are you collecting data? What is the process, and what are some of the metrics that you're looking for improving the living situation down there?
Sure. So we will follow the same way we do it in our other programs. We do an intake with people. We meet with them one-on-one, kind of have a conversation with them. What's going on? What are you experiencing? And we have a database that we keep all that information in. We will keep a regular census on how many people are at the park, and we'll be submitting that to the city every other week. And then there's a couple other parameters of data that we're keeping track of. So we are keeping track of data and who's there and progress that they're working towards. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I'll take over the rest of the meeting. But I did have a couple of follow-up. Is there any other questions from the council members? And is there any questions from the public? Or is there any public comment? Yeah, so you can come up to the podium here and make your comments.
Good evening. My name is Gene Messick. I am a member of several mutual aid organizations that have been working with the people of Christina Park. I just wanted to comment on the when will we get our park back? In mid-January, there was an article from Spotlight Delaware that went out and with assurances from the mayor of Wilmington that the park was open to the public. And the park is open to the public. The parking lot is open. You can go in. You can use the park. That article also said that the piers and pavilions would be left open for public use. But the city, Wilmington Police Department, and Parks and Rec have erected fences around those pavilions and blocking off the piers. We can have the park back whenever the city is willing to take down those fences. The people living down there are very sociable. They are willing to break bread together, talk to you. They're normal people. there's no reason to avoid the park. It's a safe place. So I'd like to ask that the fences please be removed and the park be reopened to the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment here in the committee chamber? And is there anybody online? WITN, could you bring any? Cheyenne Miller?
Hi, my name is Cheyenne Miller. I'm a resident here in the city of Wilmington. I work with Working Families Power, and I also work with Homes Campaign. I have a question. I want to know, does any of the $20 million that was set aside for housing in the mayor's budget actually go towards homelessness? And if that question can be answered, I'd love you guys to pause my time.
Is that something Deputy Walker you could answer, or did you want to speak to the previous comment as well?
I can do both when you permit me to, Madam Chair.
Sure, that would be great. It sounds like Cheyenne's comment's over. Unless you, you're going to
I was hoping to get a answer to my question, but I will wait for that answer to come, and I'll finish my comment. I'm hoping that some of that $20 million does go into homelessness. Who will fund it? If the city cannot put up money to address homelessness within its own city limits, then it's going to be kind of hard to say that the state should also do it. So maybe if the city and the state work together to make sure that funding comes to addressing homelessness, that would be great. It is also just important to note that there are so many more solutions to homelessness than we've really discussed here at this hearing. And I know that's not what this hearing is about, but it really requires that the city takes an active role in ensuring that the resources are reaching the people. And there's very little conversations happening about what the city's going to do to create policies that actually help people get out of homelessness. Christina Park is a small portion of the number of people who are experiencing homelessness in the city. The 2025 PIT count showed there was like 600 people who are in and out of shelters, who are in and out of hopping off of families' couches and stuff like that, and that are still living outside but aren't in the park. And so the fact that the city has this idea that Christina Park is the center of homelessness and is only really looking at coordinating services for Christina Park shows that, again, we're not taking it seriously. We're not taking homelessness seriously. The administration that's sitting before us opposes rent stabilization that would help keep people housed. It opposes rent assistance that would help make sure that people can also, again, stay housed. And then on top of that, we're saying that we have no money yet that's going into homelessness. Like, yeah. So my two questions are, any of that $20 million going into homelessness? And are we going to actually see funds put into building up housing for people to be in? Are we going to see shelters getting built? Are we going to see permanent supportive housing getting built? Like, how are we going to actually get people housed? And how can we focus on something bigger than just the park? Because people are not just homeless at the park.
Thank you. So I wanted to give Deputy Walker a chance to answer the couple of questions that were going to be posed, if you're able to do that.
Happy to, Madam Chair. I like to speak in facts and not assumed assumptions. These meetings are supposed to inform the general public of what's actually happening. Two questions, three were posed, two online, one in person. I'll take the one in person and then move to the online, if that's okay with you. The comment was stated that the articles shared, we would be allowing the park to be open and the pavilions would be open. That is absolutely correct. But I think if we also remember the conversation that was shared is that we will be erecting signage to ensure that it's very clear that no camping, no tents, no sleeping were allowed in the pavilions. The first pavilion has been blocked off for a number of months now because of an environmental requirement that was being remediated. That was already publicly shared. The second pavilion was just recently blocked off as we went into our contract with the Friendship House so that we could get a long-term occupant out of that pavilion and into the space with the rest of those who are intense. That pavilion has since been cleaned. We are in the process of ordering signage to ensure that we are giving public notice to the individuals that they are not expected to abide by a rule they do not know, and then we would be accused of disparate treatment. And so we're actually taking a thoughtful approach. The piers are also still open. Granted, that was said it was not. In terms of the question posed about from the online comment, I think there were general misconceptions and words that I never said. No one said Christina Park was the epicenter of homeless. As a matter of fact, we said the complete opposite. We know that there are unhoused individuals who are street unhoused across the city. Our goal with the park was so that we could have one centralized stationary location that we could work to funnel services in because we know it's better if we know where everyone is than trying to locate them. That was working. We saw great movement in that regard until the storm when we had to close the park down for safety. We didn't want people in the park freezing, our fault. And we took the active steps to activate Hicks, which you yourself are aware of, as well as other council members. We are now seeing folks returning from their other locations, so they're coming back to the park as the weather's warming up a little bit now. And so we expect those concentrated services to be happening, and Kristen's already talked about the service coordination schedule that is already underway with both clinical services as well as food and donations. So that is also something we want to make sure is really clear and not muddied in innuendo. The second part, there were two components. Is it actually going towards housing? Well, it's the Affordable Housing Fund, so that answer is yes. $20 million of that, the plan was laid out in the mayor's address. More details to come on the actual application, but this money only goes towards affordable housing, which includes decreasing the cost of small and minority developers so that they can actually engage in projects. It will go to site readiness, removing burdens earlier in the process. It will go to incentivize affordable housing across the city so that we're not just concentrating poverty, something I think a lot of people would agree with. When you have mixed income housing, you see all boats being lifted. And so I just wanted to share some facts about that and show that we're not hiding.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for those answers and for addressing that concern. And is there an earmark of that $20 million specifically for something like building supportive housing or building a shelter?
We are in conversations with the state about that, but there is nothing in this current allocation as those conversations are ongoing.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any other comments online? Mimi? Is there a Mimi, WITN?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So I kind of want to talk about accessibility, and I mean like access to care and communication and being heard and being treated like a human being. Basic needs right now are still pretty inconsistent, like food, water, dry shelter. Those are like minimum things we should be worrying about. And people have different needs at the park. There's mobility needs, there's mental health needs, disabilities, trauma. Like Kim said, it's not a one-size-fits-all situation, and it can't be treated like one. And the big thing is, I know people in that park. I know their names. I know their stories. I know who loves the OJs and sandalwood perfume and who would play fight you for a box of Pop-Tarts. When I walk through there after work, either alone or with someone from my group, I don't get eye rolls. I get hugs. And that is not a flex. That is an example of what happens when you take the time to see people as people. And I know that trust takes time. I know people are not going to open up to every new face right away, especially when they've been failed or pushed aside. But that's one way we can help. Some of us have relationships. We want to help build trust and not get in the way of it. People at Christina Park, they're not just a coordination issue or a problem to be managed. They're human beings. And I really appreciate Friendship House acknowledging that earlier. And I would like to invite members of City Council and the mayor's office to please do the same. Go meet them. Don't just assume they're like from Kenzo or whatever. Get to know them. Ask them. They're really cool people there. And to Friendship House, we see you. We see the work you're doing, and we want to support you and not make this harder. And I understand the need around the coordination for donations, like the 50 pounds of tomatoes that were dropped off with Bible scriptures. We took those away and cooked those down because stuff like that is useless and hard to navigate around. And oh, Kim, something you said earlier. You said people are not choosing this. That is so correct, and that needs to be repeated. We are in a housing crisis. We need affordable, safe, accessible housing. It's really limited. And when housing disappears, people don't just disappear too. They go where they can, and places like Christina Park. We do not have access to stable housing. And there was a comment earlier, I forget who said it, that people don't become homeless because a city is too helpful. And if someone's already unhoused, it shouldn't matter where they're from. It's whether you're going to respond with dignity and solutions. And we know that housing first, stable housing without preconditions is actually what helps people move towards stability. And to agree with Cheyenne, yes, Christina Park is just one piece, and that is the point. Christina Park is a visible result of a much larger problem. And the idea of a cutoff didn't make sense to me because there's no cutoff for people who lost housing. There's no moment when homelessness just magically ends. It's an ongoing issue, and there should be ongoing solutions. So to Friendship House, what are your biggest obstacles right now? Where is the mayor's office or city falling short? And how can we as a community help you apply pressure to get the services, accessibility, and housing that you need? Because just writing on the progress page is not the same thing as progress in people's lives.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. We do have 3 minutes.
I'm so sorry.
Here. So everybody gets 3 minutes. That's what we do to keep the comments moving. So thank you very much. And I would like to give Friendship House the opportunity to answer that question if you're able or want to.
I appreciate that so much, and we appreciate the partnership, and we have been working with Mimi and her friends and group the past several months, and we're grateful for the partnership. So thank you for that, and thank you for the solidarity. Probably the big things we need are, we'll always take funding. So anyone who's interested in supporting this cause, if you have the means, we would welcome funding to help support what we do, because we are one of the few organizations that touches as many unhoused folks as we do, and plus we work deeply in the preventative world as well, and volunteers. So there's always work to be done. I think one of the challenges we're facing specifically with Christina Park is the coordinated effort. I do think there are some folks who have certain feels about us getting the contract, and people want to be able to show up the way they want to show up, and we're trying really hard to coordinate. So as people are willing and wanting to help, if they would be, please work with us so that we can ensure that those services are best utilized and we're not wasting resources, whether they're tomatoes, cucumbers, or recliners. We really do intend to help anyone at that park, and we believe in equitable and dignified services. We don't pick and choose our favorites. So that is the big call to action, is please work with us. Is there anything you want to add, Kristen? No, okay.
Thank you. Is there any other comments, public comments?
Councilwoman Harley has her hand.
Oh, I can't, public comment is in progress. I guess we have to come back to the,
Okay. Mimi still has her hand up. She has
okay. So I think she's done. Okay, WITN, can we come back to the regular meeting? And I think Councilwoman Harley has her hand up.
Uh-oh. I'm sorry.
Yes, yes, Madam Chair.
Oh,
May I?
wait. Councilwoman Harley, we have one more public comment. There's somebody else.
Connor,
Sure.
Delaware? Connor, Delaware, C-O-N-O-R.
Connor?
Connor.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
hear-
All right. Thank you so much. Yeah, I just wanted to first and foremost say thanks to Kim and Kristen for sharing everything that Friendship House has been doing. It's been great knowing we have someone who could be a liaison between city resources and the community itself. I think one thing that has been underappreciated or understated is just how large of a response directly from the community came with and without support from Friendship House or the city. We all know the city moves slow. We saw people who were there saw the issues that happened with the responses during the Code Purple, the Hicks Center not being open until the storm was well underway, the city sending a bus an hour after people had to disperse from their current locations, the city not providing transportation to these Code Purple locations, causing people to walk through these inclement weather conditions, and then banning them from what is ostensibly their homes in a sanctioned camp. So I really want to shout out those people who showed up day one on the ground and have been doing the work for years now, not just from this winter. Going back to a comment earlier about the fencing, one of those pavilions has been closed not for months. If we're talking about facts, it has been closed for over 3 years now, and ostensibly to remove the current residents who were using that as housing because they were not able to get housing resources. So I really just want to shout out all the people in the community who showed up. A term that we heard earlier is mutual aid. For those who are unfamiliar, mutual aid is kind of the practice of the community coordinating its own resources in order to help its members meet unmet needs. I would ask that Friendship House, especially the city of Wilmington, respect this kind of organizing within the community. As you know, people who are seeing each other every day know what each other's stories and needs are. Based on our relationship with the Friendship House, as we have been working towards providing more resources and services from the community to the encampment itself, I would really encourage the city of Wilmington to examine the current contract that they awarded to Friendship House and look at ways that they can further allow greater freedom of Friendship House to work directly with the community as they're providing resources rather than becoming a potential bottleneck, as we're seeing with the community outreach position being unfilled in a time of dire need. Speaking about these community groups, I would also like the city of Wilmington to consider providing direct support to these groups. I had previously lived in Austin, Texas. What we saw was the city provided hundreds, if not thousands, of bus passes to groups like Texas Harm Reduction and Austin DSA in order to distribute those bus passes to the people who needed them most, especially in times of we had a 30 to 60 day heat dome. This allowed people to get to cooling centers, to work, to do grocery shopping, and get back to where they were ostensibly living. I would love to see the city use some of its resources to allow the community to provide for itself. Lastly, like I said earlier, the city of Wilmington moves slow. We need to move quickly and with purpose, and this means providing as much low or no barrier housing and traditional housing as transitional housing as soon as possible.
Thank you, Connor. Connor, we don't have, you had your 3 minutes, so we got to keep, give other people a chance to speak with this meeting, but we want to keep having conversations with everybody at the table who is part of the solution. And this committee actually has established a subcommittee on long-term policy solutions to homelessness, which if you're not already on it, those meetings are going to be open. Like we can all be on those. That committee can be more than just the people who are, assigned to it. So I'm inviting anybody who's watching, the public, to be part of those discussions and also I do want to say thank you to the Friendship House, to the City of Wilmington, but also to all the people in the community who have been supporting people who are living outside. Before the Christina Park was established as a city-sanctioned encampment, and then also during. I mean, there's a lot of gaps in services that have been filled by regular people who have, through their generosity, through their heart, through just caring for each other. So I do want to thank everybody in Wilmington who has been part of that effort, and hope that we can keep working together. And Deputy Chief of Staff Walker, I would like to just give you a chance to respond in case there's anything that you wanted to clarify before
Certainly,
we wrap up.
Madam Chair, and again, for the public, I can't go a single day talking about this topic and talking about the storm response that I do not thank the tireless work of Friendship House and our staff for what they did during the 2 winter storms. It's often said that government moves slow, but in matter of fact, the opposite happened, and it was tangibly seen. As someone who was out there, actually, day of, before the storm took place. Friendship House, during the first initial blizzard, was on site up to 72 hours in advance, making sure people had options, either coordinating hotel stays with DSHA and DHSS, messaging that they will be opening their Code Purple shelters before the ice storm. The day of the storm, as I was dealing with my house flooding, left there with over 22,000 gallons of water pouring down my house and drove directly to Christina Park. So I don't want to let anyone say that we don't care, we're slow, or that we are not looking out for the people, because we put our personal lives on hold during this storm. I saw Kim in our community engagement unit with Lieutenant Bozeman in the freezing cold. Kim's face matched her red jacket that day to make sure people were there. And the fact of the matter is, the storm didn't come until the sun was set, and we had buses scheduled for 4:30 that day. We cannot say we didn't provide transportation, but then in the same say that a bus arrived late. Both inaccurate. We also want to make sure that the day of the second storm, Hicks was open. Why? Because I was in there carrying hundreds of meals from the food bank into Hicks as people were arriving at 2 p.m. We sent a bus to Sam to pick up those at Sam who were originally going to stay at Sam. That's why they were there. But when we decided to open up Hicks, we wanted to make sure everyone was in one centralized location. That's why we sent the bus as the snow had already started to fall, so that we could make sure we had the adequate staff in one centralized location. I just want people to understand the dedication of our hardworking staff, many of which live in this city and love this city. I don't want people to get misunderstood. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chief of Staff Walker, and thank you for your service too, and for mobilizing the resources during these storms, and especially during these storms, but also ongoing. And this is an effort that I think it's going to take all of us. So we want to, unless there's any other comments, we're going to wrap up this component of the agenda. And
Councilmember Willard?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Harley. Yes, thank you. We're getting back to Councilwoman Harley.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to say that just because individuals don't see council members down at the park when they're down there doesn't mean that we don't go down there. As Chief of Staff Walker stated, a number of us care deeply about what is going on. A number of us are reaching out to other partnerships and organizations to make sure that they are working with Friendship House, like New Destiny Fellowship. Whenever someone reaches out to me, I'm always taking the time to make sure that they have the right information to contact Friendship House. And so what I want to know is this, is that does Friendship House have any workers down there like during the day? Like, do they have like shifts of people between 8 and 5 that when people drive by that don't know that they should be reaching out to them? Do they have someone down there to basically let them know where they need to sign up and who they need to contact? That's what I want to know.
We are working on more concrete hours. We have staff people there that are going daily, but they don't have a set schedule yet. And so we are working towards more consistency in scheduling and that. So that is our goal. And then we are also working on signage to inform the community of ways to contact Friendship House if they are coming to the park when Friendship House staff is not there, so that we are more accessible to them with deliveries and they have the information to reach out to so that they can coordinate properly how to donate and volunteer.
That's great. That's great because I think that there's a miscommunication or misunderstanding from individuals in the community when you say you don't want people to just drop off things. And so if they don't see anyone there to help guide or direct them to where they should be going, I think it's being perceived as perceived as not, doing your job. So that's the reason why I asked that question. And I'm glad to hear that y'all are working on getting signage because at least people know where they need to go if they come by and they're not allowed to drop off food or clothing or whatever they're trying to do. So I'm really happy to hear about the clothing. And then lastly, I really would like to see us talk about how we can put more dollars into the mental health support and addiction because I believe we need to help these individuals to get back into the mainstream, to be able to help themselves. And so that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to us talking about in the future, more support and help for addiction and mental health support. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is there anybody else on council before we go again? We have one more comment from the city. We're going to give the city the chance to say final comments. And is there anybody else on council who has any further questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I wanted to give Deputy Director Walker a chance to say your
Madam
piece.
Chair, no final comment. Just wanted to share with Councilwoman Harley, we absolutely agree in terms of the mental health and substance use that we are seeing in Wilmington, and we are thankful for the state's opioid commission funding. They have both competitive funding as well as local government dollars that we are at the table in discussion. And so, Councilwoman, you are absolutely correct and happy to talk with you about where those dollars are and what they'll be going to fund.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I wanted to just, end this portion by thanking Friendship House for coming out for your presentation. Thank you to the City of Wilmington. I want to underline that, there's been a lot of issues that have been brought up, including, the mutual aid that is going on and the respect for that, and also including the need for long-term housing solutions like that we don't currently have. How do we expand the long-term housing solutions so that people have an opportunity to move out of tents? And also, permanent supportive housing, the need for supportive services, the need to create more permanent and affordable, and then also the need to help people, avoid housing. So I think some of the solutions that council has been talking about rent stabilization, about emergency rental assistance, about eviction prevention, have to be part of the conversation around homelessness. So I just want to thank everybody who's been listening, everybody who has been part of this conversation, and there are going to be opportunities. We're going to have to keep working together. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So the next item on the agenda is a presentation on the RN360 Behavioral Health Digital Platform by DHSS. I wanted to ask Michelle Singletary-Twyman if you could make a presentation. Thank you. I think we'd like to welcome you, and thank you for coming, and we'd like to welcome you to start your presentation.
Sure. Thank you, Councilperson Will Haller and the subcommittee and City of Wilmington Council. And I guess the mayor's office is gone, but thank you for having us. I'm very excited to share about the work we're doing at DHSS related to ensuring care, coordination of care for our clients. Next slide, please. We wanted to find a way to open the door towards treatment and behavioral health. There are ongoing issues that you see in the city of Wilmington around some very similar clients that you see in the repeated admissions to the emergency rooms, crisis calls, outreach teams being involved with clients in the community, people that have multiple needs for sheltering. The system has historically not been shared in the sense of each of those areas working together to coordinate care for these clients. DTRAN 360 is Delaware's statewide care coordination platform designed to connect all of these providers. Next slide. Many Wilmington residents are experiencing behavioral health challenges, and they're also dealing with the housing instability, which we just heard a lot about, food insecurity, transportation barriers, employment disruption. Providers are oftentimes working with someone trying to find ways to connect them to these types of services. DTRAN 360 allows providers to make direct referrals and to the community-based safety nets, including housing options, mental health and substance abuse treatment, as well as social cares. This helps stabilize individuals before situations can escalate to a crisis level or to need law enforcement. Next slide. This is a video that kind of gives a little vignette around what DTRAN 360 does. You should be able to click on that at the bottom. There should come up a little, like double click to make it play.
We might not have that capabilities.
Really? Oh, it's really good. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. So one of the things that we would have talked about in the video was how DTRAN 360 works. The way it works is that a provider, when a client prevents for services, a provider would be able to look up in the system for clients that they serve and be able to coordinate care or to get them services that they might need. So they could show up at the emergency room, they could show up at other shelters or locations and have access to social care referrals. The closed-loop referral system is included in DTRAN 360, and what that means is currently people have to fax over information, call, send emails, trying to figure out who the providers are working with the client, or trying to find locations or figuring out if someone has accessibility to services. With DTRAN 360, we actually want to knock out all of the faxing and phone calls and put the referral right at your fingertips on the computer through the platform. Next slide. With the DTRAN 360 system, a provider or a social cares agency can make referrals for housing referrals, for food services, getting them access to transportation for treatment needs. If they're a provider of mental health or substance abuse treatment, they can make the referral to another provider for care. They'll actually be able to coordinate care with that another provider. For example, you oftentimes see some clients that might have behavioral health needs in the community, and no one knows who their provider is, or if there's someone they can connect them with. With this platform, if they presented with to the emergency room, they'd be able to see very quickly if they have an ACT team, who their current outpatient provider is, and that can help to get people out of the ER quickly, or to at least get their teams involved with care and help the emergency room identify the best course of treatment with these clients. So DTRAN 360 kind of takes the busy administrative work out of making the care coordination platform for behavioral health clients, as well as for social care's referrals for things like housing or food and shelter. Next slide. So what does this mean to Wilmington? While DTRAN 360 is primarily used for treatment providers, it does have a broader impact on the city. There's better coordination through reduced repeat visits to the emergency room, wait times in the emergency room because now the providers will know who to call if a client presents and they have a treatment team, connecting individuals to housing and social supports, stabilizing residents before a crisis escalates. For many behavioral health providers, they don't know that someone has had a crisis intervention team involved, and with this platform, providers can tell when their clients are spiraling, and they're able to intervene earlier to help prevent reduced admissions to the emergency room. Over time, this strengthens the entire behavioral health ecosystem serving Wilmington. Next slide. Just a little information to share. We have a link shared with Public Health, which is called treatmentconnection.com. Anyone in the community can access this webpage, and they can actually make referrals for treatment. They can find their own treatment providers. It actually has some of the DSAM-funded providers that will provide services for someone who's uninsured as well. So this link is an access to treatment for people, and it's statewide. Next slide. So partnering with the city, how can we partner to help the City of Wilmington residents? With this platform, we would love to see help with the residents in the community organizations learning about treatment connections. It's a huge opportunity for your providers to get access to treatment for clients, or for someone to actually find their own provider, which is really helpful. Encouraging the Wilmington-based social services providers to participate in the network. Your food banks, your shelters, anyone that has a transportation program that they will utilize can be a part of our social care network. Any continued conversations about how we can coordinate data and support the public health planning can also be done through the platform with us. Next slide. We have this is our email if anyone has questions about DTRAN 360 and would like to reach out to become a member, to be a provider that could be on the network as well. We actually have a whole training that happens whenever a provider onboards, and especially the social cares area. If you have shelters, food services that may have food, or food banks, or all those providers, we're actually working to increase the network that we currently have. And it's an ongoing and growing opportunity to add providers and vendors. Next slide. I wanted to give you a little picture of what DTRAN 360 looks like for a provider. So if a client presented in the emergency room, and this is just a data sheet, they would actually log in, pull up the client's name, and in that they would be able to see that that client had recently been admitted to another hospital. They'd be able to see what services they needed in the hospital. They'd see if they had a crisis intervention. They would be able to see if they're connected to an ACT team, which I think is a huge thing, because those are some of our longer-term mental health clients that have needs to support in the community, and people don't always know who to call. That's extremely helpful. If it's a provider that is a prescriber, they can actually connect to the PDMP and look at what medications the person's had, or what controlled substances they've been treated with. They'll also get what is called a risk score, so they can see the risk that person might have related to the medications that they're currently taking. And that longitudinal data charting up there shows you all of the blips in time where they've had a treatment intervention, which is really helpful to providers to get a picture about what's going on with the client and who the players are on their treatment team. Right now, if someone walks into a treatment provider and they can't remember who they saw last or what meds they were on in the last visit, they're not able to verbalize it because of their mental health status. we don't know. We have to figure it out. It just takes time, and this helps to put that right at your fingertips. Next slide. And it's just a picture of our DTRAN 360 Community Go Live team. We actually go out to the providers and provide elbow support with them while we go live and help them to bring their staff on and show them actually how to work through the platform, how to identify what their roles will be. And the team has helped to onboard. We've got about 600 end users in the platform and over 14,000 clients served in the platform right now. Next slide. I think that's it. That's it, yeah. Okay.
Yes, thank you very much, Director Singletary-Twyman.
That's a lot.
And I know I have some comments, but I wanted to ask, is there any council members online who would like to respond or have any questions? Okay, seeing none at the moment, I'm just going to say thank you very much for this. I mean, this seems like a very important step forward for coordinating care for vulnerable people, and that, you know, hopefully it could be something that just is a real game changer for some of the people who have who do need to access these kinds of services. And I know that it has been, I'm sure it's been a long time in coming. I'm sure there's a lot of kind of administrative hurdles that go towards bringing records, especially medical records, together like this. So I just want to say thank you for probably pushing a difficult project through a difficult process. So thank you. And thank you for coming and talking to the Health, Environment, Aging, Disabilities Committee here in Wilmington. You know, one of the concerns that I do just want to ask about, just knowing people who work, you know, referring people to different things, is like, sure, you can refer, but oftentimes the service is not available or it's not there, specifically with housing. You know, there's just like, oh yes, I need an apartment, you know, I'm getting evicted and I need housing that I can afford. You know, trying to refer that person to any kind of housing, there's just not, what we hear about is the services just are not there. You know, like there is no emergency rental assistance. There is no, if you need settlement assistance to, you know, pay your landlord back rent, like there's just not, the program does not exist. Even, you know, recovery. A lot of times people will say, I wanted to, there was no beds available. It's basically what they say. And so I'm just wondering, do you know, have you built a platform that is do you feel confident that you've built a platform that is connecting people with services that we have enough of those services to meet the need? Or is it a platform that we need to build out on the services side, like the place where people can, you know, actually go? Like the system can be there, but the services at the end, are they complete, do you think? Or do we need to keep building out that?
I want to take a step back, because before DTRAN 360 was brought on board at DSAM embarked upon a platform called DTRAN, which is the original network that is a referral network, and it includes a multitude of providers. I think we are constantly onboarding providers so that there are services available to get people to treatment. Substance abuse treatment, mental health treatment providers are constantly being, every month we review more providers who want to be added to the platform. So I do believe we have the service availability. We actually track open beds, whether they actually have beds available in programs, and each day providers are given the opportunity to identify if they have beds available. So when you go into Treatment Connect, that can get you to what is currently called DTRAN. It used to be called Open Beds, so that you can see if there are actually beds available if you want to go into treatment, and you can tell if the provider's accepting new admissions. So some of the hurdles around all the calling to find if there's a bed gets taken out of the door through DTRAN, which if a provider is signed up to use DTRAN, they would be able to single sign on to DTRAN 360 or DTRAN to be able to track beds and see if there are beds available. And as a provider, you can see when the loop is closed that a client made it to treatment. if they don't make it to treatment, then you know that you've got a client out there who still hasn't followed up with their care. So that's one of the big things that I think providers are always, yeah, we made the referral, we sent over all the paperwork, but you don't know if people actually made it. Well, you will be able to tell that in DTRAN 360 based on the starting point of DTRAN, which I think is a huge thing for providers. I think because it shows that our providers are asking to still be added to the platform, we actually are seeing that it's helpful for getting people treatment. As far as the housing availability, we can only put out what's in the platform that we have available. We don't really have control over the number of housing units that are available or whether a client actually meets the criteria, because this is just getting them to the first step. But we do get the closed loop on whether they actually get that taken care of, because you'll see it in their treatment journey.
So, do you find like, oh, there are beds available?
Oh, yeah. There are beds available. We find beds for people.
Mm-hmm. And housing, do you find that there is shelter available?
So the Find Help portion of this, which is what drives our social care platform, went live in July, and they are still building. So I would have to say the answer to that, I don't have a clear answer because it's still fairly new for us. The DTRAN piece of the treatment part's been going on for years. We are building this platform, and so I would say we're in the very early stages. We still have a number of providers to bring on, but the housing is not going to be there if the houses aren't available.
Right.
We can only make available what's there.
And if there's people who are working, in contact with people who may be seeking services, or if there are people who are seeking services themselves, is there a way that they can directly access your platform?
The Treatment Connect is how you can access to find out where there's available opportunities for treatment. That treatmentconnect.com.
Mm-hmm. But this DTRAN 360 is for providers.
For providers and vendors, yes.
Providers and vendors. So to all of our listeners out there who are social service providers, you can connect with this platform. Make sure that you are part of this network by connecting with this platform.
Well,
is that correct?
Your employer would have to do an agreement with DSAM to be able to utilize the platform. There's a whole legality around it in the sense of their user agreements and that they have requirements to meet for security and ensuring that they're following all of the requirements around treatment and data sharing. So, yeah, they have to go through the whole process of doing a user agreement with DSAM.
But if you're a nonprofit, say, you could connect with this and
nonprofit.
Yeah.
Yes, through DSAM, yes.
Through DSAM. Mm-hmm. And then for individuals, it's treatment.com?
Yes. Treatmentconnection.com.
Treatmentconnection.com.
Yes.
Sorry. So is there anybody online? Any public comment?
Nobody has their hand up.
Doesn't sound like we have any public comment. Is there any other comments from members of council? Seeing none, I just want to thank you.
Somebody raise their hand.
Oh, Councilman Owens?
Yes, I just want to say thank you so much for the wonderful presentation and information, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for the invite. We were happy to be here.
And Councilman Owens is the chair of the committee, so you probably talked with him directly.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, I'd like to echo what Councilman Owens said. Thank you very much for coming and making this presentation. And, here in Wilmington, there is a need for connecting with these kinds of things. So we appreciate you coming and talking to council, talking to this committee, and sharing this information.
Well, thank you. It was very pleasurable to do.
So with that, the meeting is, there's nothing else on the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? I can go ahead and second. All in favor?
I second it.
Oh, thank you, Councilman Hackett. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Motion adjourned. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.